Hi, I'm Kathy Dodson.
And I'm Jocelyn Lindsay. Welcome to another episode of 5 Minute Indie Insights, publishing tips and tricks in 5 minutes because you're here for the quick talks, powerful tips, and all the unedited messiness.
And we may get messy today because we are going to talk about how to find your novel's category on Amazon.
Categories are like genres, which we talked about in a different video that you can go back and find, except categories are way more specific than a genre. And according to selfpublishingschool.com, there are over 16,000 Amazon categories just for books.
That's true. And why is it so important to know that your Amazon category? Because Amazon sells 80% of the books out there. So there are all these separate categories. Also keep in mind that you will have separate categories for your physical books, like a paperback or a hardback, your ebook, and now they're having categories for audiobooks as well. For this session, we're going to share our screens first to show you how to find the categories on Amazon, and I'll show you one way of doing it.
Yeah, and with and with 16,000 categories out there, don't panic. There are tools like Publisher Rocket that you can use to help you find categories. So, Kathy, it's all you. Take it away.
All right, so I am going to share my screen, go to Amazon, and you want to have novels that are very much like yours. They call them comp novels. So for Tequila Midnight, I have no idea how I just did that. I knew that the last thing he told me, which I had read, was a lot, had the same suspense and mystery as the book I had written. So you go to that book and you scroll down, and this is where you find categories. They're in product details. And so here, down here, you see the bestseller rank, but you also see that this book is doing really well. It's number 5 in women's detective fiction. That's a category. Women, new and adult college fiction. That's a category. Mother and children fiction. That's a category. Well, this first one is the one that is really kind of closest to what I'm doing. So I click on that and I find the bestsellers in women's detective fiction. And these are the top 100 paid. And you can tell it's a Kindle book by going over here to the side, right? It's in the Kindle store, Kindle ebooks, and then these categories are below it. You'll see the same thing with books. And so there's ways to do this. Now, go through here and say, okay, this is great. This is a great way to learn about your covers, but you can also click on these books and scroll down and see what their categories are.
So really,
Yeah.
so quick question. So really, categories are just digging down further and further into a genre. You
Yes.
start with science fiction, and then you go to the next layer, which might be military science fiction or space opera science fiction, or like we're seeing here, like hard-boiled mystery.
Exactly. And so here you can see that Kindle and not Kindle. So hard-boiled mystery in Kindle versus hard-boiled mystery, period, which is going to be in books. And we'll see that books, mystery thriller. And so you go down and it just gets more and more granular, but you want that. So you want to find that exact audience for your book.
Mhm.
So the next step in this, I'm going to have to stop and then reshare, is I find all of the categories that are potentials for my book, right? This one happens to be the categories for a different book, but anyway, so kidnapping, crime fiction, K means Kindle, B means book. But what I do so that I really understand this category is, first of all, I link to it so I can go straight back to the top 100 paid books in kidnapping, crime fiction. But then I look at the number 1 book and its overall Amazon rank. And I do 1, 5, 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 75, 100. This is a lot of work. If you're not really into data, you're not going to want to do this, but I am. I want to know. And what I'm looking for is, okay, kidnapping, crime fiction, mystery thriller, suspense, international mystery and crime, suspense action fiction, noir fiction, espionage thrillers, action. So all of these could be categories for my book. How do I choose the right one? I'm looking for a book
You
that
only get
Yeah,
I'm sorry to interrupt you, but you only get 3, right? You only get to
you
pick
only
3.
get 3 Amazon
Yeah.
categories. You get to pick 3 Amazon categories. And Amazon, frankly, may or may not put you in the categories you choose. You need to make sure that you're a good fit, or they will move you, right? If you've written Harry Potter and you put it in romance, they are going to move you. You're not going to get to stay there. So that is one of the really important things to note. You only get 3, so you want to make sure you get the best 3 you possibly can. And that's what all this is about. So these right here, until you get to the gray, purple means they're Kindle. And then the best ones were these green ones. Why were they the best? Because the #1 book scored really high in the Amazon overall rankings. And then there was a big drop to the number 100. So from number 74 to number 21,000. Okay, that's not a correct number, but it's 21,000 some odd, right? That big drop means you have a chance to get in there as a relatively unknown author, because it also means that a lot of people look at that category because the top book does really well. So that's what I've looked for. And these green were my best ones for Kindle. And then the blue were the best ones for the book. So that's kind of how I just, I use Publisher Rocket as well. I do a lot of different things, but hitting those categories can really make the difference as to whether your book takes off on Amazon or not. And you want to give your book the best chance possible. And that's why categories are so important. And this is one of the ways that I choose to look at them and try and find the right one for my books.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. I think categories at first can be really daunting because you're looking at like those 16,000, categories. And this is another reason why it's really important to know what your genre is, what your primary genre is, because if you don't know what your primary genre is, it's going to be so much harder for you to find the appropriate categories for your book to go in, and it's going to be harder for readers to find. So know your genre, then you can figure out your category. It will make it so much easier.
If they can't find it, they can't buy it. And that's what this is all about.
That's what all of this is about. So I think that's enough for categories. We will probably come back to categories again because we could talk about categories for hours. But for now, we'll close the door on categories there. And we have to go write, and we don't need to be talking about categories for the next 6 hours. So
you have to go write too.
Everybody needs to write. So we're done for this week, and we will see you next time. Thanks for being here.
Bye.
Bye.